now has won 4 of his last 5 Monday Night Football games. Damian Perez, dare I say he's earned the moniker Primetime Kirk, and not for satirical reasons now.
Yeah, he absolutely flipped the scripts because the narrative with Cousins was that, like you said, he could not shine under the bright lights.
Couldn't do it.
But as he showed last night and in the previous 5 games, he can do it. And last night it probably feels even better because there was a lot of criticism after his first game. There was a lot of question marks with his Achilles injury, and people were just doubting if he could actually do it and if it was Penix's time. So I feel like last night has to be one of the better ones in primetime for Cousins.
Whenever you corner a man, whenever you have a team with their backs against the wall in a must-win situation, which I do believe the Falcons were in. I think this was an underplayed scenario for the Atlanta Falcons. And Kirk Cousins on that drive, I believe he saved Atlanta's season by connecting so many times with Darnell Mooney and driving them down the field that quickly. Because if you look at the Falcons' schedule ahead, had it not been for Kirk Cousins darting them up, picking that defense apart, and getting the Falcons down the field and scoring that touchdown, next week, Atlanta's at home to none other than the 2-time reigning defending champion Kansas City Chiefs, who are coming off of the worst game that they'll probably play all year against the Bengals, who are hungry to prove yet again that they are the dominant team in the NFL right now. So their next game would have been at home next weekend against the Chiefs. You could chalk that up as an L. Now we're talking about Raheem Morris starting off 0-3. Kirk Cousins, with all the questions around his Achilles, being a guy that now people are really starting to fade. The next game after that was going to be at home against the Saints, which in the preseason looks like a gimme game, but now 2 weeks in after the Saints dominated the Dallas Cowboys, now that we have election year Derek Carr cooking, I don't know if y'all have heard or seen about that, but apparently every time it's an election year, Derek Carr gets in his MVP bag. 2 weeks into the season, who's the MVP right now? Likely Derek Carr. 2016, he had the same thing going with the Vegas Raiders until he got hurt. 2020, Derek Carr was on a tear, had one of the best years of his career and the highest QBR of his career in an election year. You're going to have to face election year Derek Carr after that. You could be talking about an 0-4 start, and then the week after that, you got Baker Mayfield and the Buccaneers, who are also undefeated. Kirk Cousins didn't just save the day by winning that game last night on Monday Night Football. He might have just saved the Falcons' season, which is partially why I believed going into this game, those are two teams that are equally yoked, and there was one team that was more desperate than the other to get a win, and that was the Atlanta Falcons, and that's the way they played down the stretch. They got the victory in this one. But I leave with this question following the Falcons' win last night on primetime with Kirk Cousins. Was this win, does it give me more confidence about the Atlanta Falcons? Am I more impressed with their play, or am I more concerned with the Philadelphia Eagles, who on the other side of this, that defense in that final drive was absolutely horrendous. That was playing scared. That was playing with your tail tucked between your legs. That was, I hope he doesn't burn us. And forgive me for asking this, but why the hell are you that nervous about Kirk Cousins? They gave him everything he wanted with all of that soft coverage. And it doesn't take an idiot like me, Theo Dorsey, here on Theoretically Speaking, to point that out. How about you go to a guy that, in Rob Gronkowski, who was on Up and Adams today, who has experienced teams actually feeling threatened by a guy like Tom Brady and having to sit back in those shells and hoping not to get beat. He picked apart how bad the Eagles defense was on that final drive.
Here's the problem, whenever, there's a final drive in the game, these defenses always go in this prevent mode where the safeties play so far back so they don't get burned, but they weren't getting burned all game, so what are you worried about? And then they go in that prevent defense, and how many times do you see an offense just march down the field, hit the check down for 5 yards, and they go for 15 more, they find that open hole for a 20-yard pass, and then all of a sudden, 4 plays into it, they're in the red zone. That prevent defense is the worst defense ever created in the history of football.
Rob's not wrong.
Yeah?
Rob's not wrong there. And here's the thing, Damian, too. The Eagles were shutting the Falcons' offense down for the most of the night. The thing that was working was Bijan Robinson, who, by the way, looks so good. The cuts, when Bijan Robinson plants his foot in the ground, and you saw a lot of the same stuff for Saquon Barkley on the other side. When he plants, when he sticks that foot in the ground and goes the other way, I sometimes fall out of my chair on my own couch.
It looked like I don't know if you saw Baker Mayfield against the Lions.
Ooh,
the one when he stepped on the ground, like you said, and bodies just dropped to the floor.
Just dropped.
That's kind of what that looked like. Like you said, Bijan looked amazing, but I don't know if the Eagles were stopping them last night. They were stopping them when they got into the red zone, but in the first, I want to say 3 possessions that the Falcons had, they scored 3 field goals on those possessions.
But they not that quick, right? Like it was chunk. It wasn't chunk plays at all. It was them methodically moving the ball down the field, and it was Bijan Robinson, 14 carries, 97 yards. He averaged just under 9 yards per carry. The Falcons were not moving the ball consistently that quickly, at least, on the Eagles, and they only were able to do so once the Eagles dropped back into that prevent defense coverage that Rob Gronkowski talked about. So when you pair the fact that the Eagles played with their tails tucked between their legs at home in primetime against Kirk Cousins and got beat because of it, when you also pair that with the fact that their saving grace, their best player, it looks like this year so far, Saquon Barkley, dropped that 3rd and 3 call where Sirianni and the staff trusted him to be a sure-handed running back, one of the best pass-catching backs we have in the league. Hey, you go out in that flat route, you pick up that catch, you likely can run in for a touchdown. At the very least, you get a first down, the game is over, right? So a risky play call, but then also a failure to execute. You pair that with the offseason stories around the Eagles and all of the infighting, the level of distrust and lack of motivation that Nick Sirianni instills in that Eagles squad, specifically their head coach relationship with their quarterback, Jalen Hurts. I'm way more concerned with the Philadelphia Eagles following Monday Night Football than I am impressed with the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons went in there and did what they had to do. As a desperate team that had no option but to pick up a win because they could not start their season 0-3, they did what they had to do. Kirk Cousins, good stuff. Amazing, right? What we did find out is that was his 6th game-winning touchdown pass with under 2 minutes to go in either regulation or overtime since 2015. Only one other quarterback has more. Like, Kirk Cousins actually has done this time and time again. We just don't see it as much or give enough credit to it because it's Kirk Cousins. And he probably often has more times when he's missing on some of those drives. But on the other side, the Eagles were in prime position to go 2-0 following a disastrous Cowboys effort. The Commanders are not going to be a contender this year. You don't think anything is coming out of the Giants either. They were going to be able to put themselves in pole position to walk away with this division with the elite amount of confidence around the Saquon Barkley addition and even their pass catchers not named A.J. Brown because A.J. Brown was out last night. I'm concerned with the Eagles. It wasn't like a thing where it's like, oh, it's an Eagles loss versus the Falcons win. No, I'm not saying that. But I am saying due to the results of this game, I'm more concerned with the Eagles than I am impressed with the Atlanta Falcons. 888-760-3776. 888-760-3776. That's the number to call in to Theoretically Speaking here. Are you more concerned with the Eagles following the Monday Night Football result? Or are you more impressed with Kirk Cousins turning things around with the Atlanta Falcons? 888-760-3776. Or you can hit us up in the chat at Theo Speaking on YouTube. Our YouTube stream is brought to you by Prize Picks, which, by the way, Kirk Cousins didn't just beat the Eagles on that last drive. He also took down my Prize Picks lineup because I had I had less passing yards for both Jalen Hurts and for Kirk Cousins. It was going to bang. It was going to be perfect until the Eagles got in that prevent defense and let Kirk Cousins pick them apart. Are you more impressed with the Atlanta Falcons or more concerned with the Philadelphia Eagles like myself? 888-760-3776. Call in to Theoretically Speaking. Hit us up on the Baptist Health Hotline. Are you experiencing foot and ankle pain and need to see an expert in the field? Baptist Health Orthopedic Care has a team of foot and ankle orthopedic surgeons and specialists who are regarded as leaders in their specialty. Visit baptisthealth.net/ortho to learn more today. Baptist Health Orthopedic Care combines its resources of experienced physicians and leading-edge treatments and technology to provide advanced orthopedic, foot and ankle, joint replacement, spine, and sports medicine care. Visit baptisthealth.net/ortho for more information today. Baptist Health Orthopedic Care has offices conveniently located in Palm Beach County through the Florida Keys. Learn more by visiting baptisthealth.net/ortho. 888-760-3776. 888-760-3776. That's the number to call in. Eagles fans, I have some bad news for you. I am definitely more concerned with your team, your ability to bounce back from a primetime loss like that, than I am impressed with the Atlanta Falcons. We have Jalen in the chat saying Kirko, shouting out the Kirko chains, or whatever the hell they want to call Kirk Cousins these days. It's just, again, he'll give you these in the regular season. Wait till we get to the playoffs. I told Falcons fans, too, ahead of this year, I believe in the Falcons' ability to lock up the NFC South. I believe in the Falcons' ability to look like a strong contender in the NFC, but you're always going to have number 18 at quarterback. You're always going to have to rely on Kirk Cousins down the stretch in playoff games. And that's when I'll be triggered to at least change my opinion on Kirk Cousins. Very good quarterback. Not the guy you want to have in a playoff setting, especially when you start playing against some of those top-notch squads with great coaching like the Packers. And you would think if the Eagles could get their stuff together and have better coaching, maybe the Eagles. 888-760-3776. More impressed with the Falcons or more concerned with the Eagles? That's the number to call in to Theoretically Speaking. We have Joe in Jupiter. Joe's on Theoretically Speaking. Joe, it's got to be a good Tuesday for you seeing the Eagles go down in prime time, huh?
Loved it. As disgusted as I was from what happened on Sunday, just getting destroyed. That made it a better second day.
Joe in Jupiter, a Cowboys fan, by the way, a Cowboys fan, which is why he likes seeing the Eagles lose and is sad about Sunday. But what do you think, though? More concerned about the Eagles, or more impressed with what the Falcons were able to do?
I'm impressed with the Falcons. They got good coaching. They got Bijan Robinson. I saw him at Texas. I was hoping the Cowboys could come out and somehow come up to get him. Because look at our running game. It's nothing. I could run as much yards as the Cowboys are doing right now, I think. And he's showing – last year they didn't use him like he showed in Texas. And Kirk Cousins is no joke. You know, they've got studs all over the place. So, I mean, I'm more impressed with them than the Eagles. The Eagles fell apart last year. And hopefully, it's showing after week 2.
Yeah.
And then as far as the Cowboys go, you know, we talked a couple weeks ago. I'm close. I tell you what, I'm close. You know, we have lost by 95. The last 2 home games in Dallas, they've scored 95-something points against us. If you include the Green Bay game and then on Sunday, it was an exact replica of us losing in Green Bay or to Green Bay last year in the playoff game. So, you know, I don't feel any different, but just keep me from falling off the ledge, Theo. I know you can do it.
I got you.
I'm still hanging.
Joe,
it's getting close.
Joe, I got you. We ain't letting you go over that ledge. Not today, not this year, Joe. Appreciate you calling in on this Tuesday. And again, I do thank him for keeping it G. Like, yeah, he's more impressed with the Falcons than he is concerned with the Eagles, because maybe we do know who the Eagles are at this point. Joe, a great character. I'm going to be happy for him when those Cowboys finally give him the validation for these long years of suffering, enduring, and cheering for them boys out in Arlington. 888-760-3776, 888-760-3776. That's the number to tap into Theoretically Speaking. Are you more impressed with what Kirk Cousins did for the Atlanta Falcons in that win, or are you more concerned with the Eagles? We got Kenny in Houston. Kenny's on Theoretically Speaking. Coming off of a huge game like that, you didn't know Kirk Cousins had that in him, huh? Like, are you more impressed with him, or are you more concerned with how the Eagles handled it?
I'm going to be honest. I definitely did not know, what Kirk Cousins had going, but I'm more concerned with the Eagles based off of the moves that they made in the offseason. And, I like Saquon, and I'm definitely a fan of Hurts. And so I was thinking that this was going to be a movement. It was going to be a position that they put themselves in to be an advantage. And you can't come up short with the Falcons. So I'm definitely more concerned with the Eagles in this specific scenario.
Right. No, I appreciate that. That's good insight right there, and appreciate the call. See, what Kenny is saying there is we expected to see something different out of the Eagles. And you expected to see something that felt more like a unstoppable force from the Eagles. They go and get Saquon Barkley in the offseason. We saw him in week 1 against the Packers, and it looked like, oh, my God, the train is rolling. Who's going to be able to stop it? And then you have a game against the Falcons of all teams, the Atlanta Falcons of all teams, which seems like one of those franchises that always gets in their own way. Obviously, we had the 28-3 jokes about the Falcons going all through the night because of Matt Ryan being on the Manning cast. And again, just hashtag Falcons, right? Hashtag Dirty Birds. When they're around, the jokes will come flying out. But Kenny's like, yo, Saquon Barkley was in position right there for you to seal the deal, to end the game. And what did he do? He dropped the ball. And it's not, he took accountability for it. He said, hey, I let my team down. You know, he catches that ball. Even if he doesn't get the first down, that game is likely over with. But same old Eagles. That's what I say, and that's what Kenny's saying to you today as well on Theoretically Speaking. Same old Eagles. That's why I'm more concerned with the Philadelphia Eagles and their ability to bounce back from this than I am with how impressed I am with the Falcons. Falcons are going to win the NFC South. Don't get too hyped up and start drinking the Kool-Aid for the Saints because of their first 2 games. The Falcons are still going to win the NFC South. The Eagles, now, it comes into question, can they be the team that comes out of the NFC East as the division champs? These are the same old Eagles. 2 new coordinators. Sirianni had nothing to do with hiring. In 4 of their last 7 losses for Philadelphia, take note of this, for real. Because if you're a playoff team, if you're a real contender in the NFL, you win the close games, especially those that are prime time. In 4 of the last 7 losses for the Eagles, they have led with under 2 minutes to go. 4 out of the last 7 losses, they led with under 2 minutes to go. The Philadelphia Eagles, the team that was in the Super Bowl not 20 months ago, facing off against Patrick Mahomes, a couple of plays away from winning. That team, 4 of the last 7 losses, they led with under 2 minutes to go. They are now 2-7 in their last 9 games. That's going back to last season. Remember when they fell off at the end of last season, then they lose again in the playoffs to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield. And now they start off the season. You get the win against the Packers. And on Monday Night Football, leading at the end of the game, poor decision-making, just excruciating execution, and you lose yet again on the big stage. They've lost 2 of their last 7. They are extremely underwhelming when it comes to what you expected to see with that powerful offensive line and Saquon Barkley and Jalen Hurts and what we actually saw out there on the field. I would be concerned if I'm an Eagles fan. I would even more so concerned if I'm a decision maker in that front office because I don't think they have the right guy at head coach.